because 40 cents of every dollar we spend this year, really 42, I believe, will be borrowed. So that is a situation that's very real to us. But I've always felt that we do have a responsibility to be honest with our constituents, and we are going to need to raise the debt limit. We just have to. It places too much risk on our economy, I think, to not raise it. We might as well be honest about that. We've got ourselves in a fix, and it will have to be raised. But I want to share some thoughts about why I'm uneasy about the legislation that's before us and why I'll not be able to support it. What does it do? The good part is that it reduces our spending by about $2.1 trillion, maybe 2.4. A more solid belief that we'll reduce spending if Congress adheres to the guidelines, and it can, over a period of years, we tend to figure ways around the limits and constraints that are put on spending, but the plan is to reduce spending by $2.1 trillion. I have been warning for months now that we're heading to a situation in which we will have a last-minute 11th hour bill and that the Senate will be asked to pass it without adequate time to review it, that other bad things could be included in this debt limit increase, and it's not the kind of process that we need to pursue. So this morning at 3 a.m., apparently legislation was finally put together, and it was brought forth to the floor of the Senate, and we'll vote tomorrow morning, maybe noon, after a couple of hours debate tomorrow. And I'm really uneasy about that. The Finance Committee should be looking at how to deal with taxes. The Appropriation Committee should be asking how can we reduce expenditures. Every authorizing committee needs to be looking at what they can do the job better and with less cost and more efficiently. The Budget Committee should be producing a budget that can be adhered to and passed, and that would bind the Senate to change the spending trajectory we've been on. But none of that has happened. Instead, we have a bill this morning to raise the debt limit because we spent so much money, we're up at the limit, and if we don't raise the debt limit, there'll be substantial reductions in spending occurring pretty quickly. So that's where we are. In this bill that was produced last night, and I haven't had time to fully study it, I believe it raises serious questions about the United States Senate and how we do business. As I said, I warned that we would be at the 11th hour when this all came forward. I didn't think it would be at the 11th.99 hour, at the very last minute, with tomorrow being August 2nd. I thought we'd had more than one day maybe to look at this. So we've got this bill before us. Number of things that are in it. But one thing particularly that concerned me as the ranking member of the Budget Committee is it deems certain budget numbers. And in a way gets around again the budget process. And it's going to give my colleagues, the Democratic majority, additional avenues to avoid producing a budget for the third consecutive year. It just will. That's why it's in there. It was in there for that purpose. Secondly, I just ask my colleagues to think about this, and I'll wrap up. I don't need to go into great detail about it. But we're being asked to allow our leaders to select up to 12 people who will be on a special committee, and they'll have almost complete jurisdiction to work on any issue they choose. And after they reach an agreement, if they do, that agreement will be presented to both houses of Congress There'll be only 30 hours of debate, no opportunity to amend it, and there'll be an up or down vote. And I have to say, the chances of that up or down vote being successful is very, very high, because the product that will come out of that committee will be in harmony with what the leaders who appointed the members of the committee desire, because the power to appoint is the power to control. So the committee will come back with this leadership proposal. It will be on the floor, and it'll be for up or down vote, and it's likely, very likely, to pass. Hopefully it'll have some good things in it. I don't deny that. Hopefully it'll be a very good thing, some very good things in it. But it can't really, it's unlikely that it would go past 2.1 on 2.4, really 1.2, $1.5 trillion in reduced spending over 10 years. That's the range they've basically been given, 1.2 to 1.5 additional spending reductions on top of the $900 billion that would go in effect immediately with the passage of the legislation. So you come out with about a 2.1, 2.4 trillion total. And I believe that's an insufficient number. It's not close to what we've got to do. I think we, as members of the Senate, need to ask ourselves, and I know the majority leader and the Republican leader love this body and respect it, but we're getting pretty far away from the traditions of this body. When you don't publicly debate a budget, you create a committee of limited numbers of people to to produce legislation that can't be amended and will only be up or down, and no ability to have a majority vote, but a 50 vote, contrary to the normal process of this body. So for those reasons, I feel like, as a senator and a ranking member on the Budget Committee who's wrestled with this for some time, I would not be able to support the legislation, though I truly believe that it is a step forward, and I respect my colleagues who've worked hard to try to bring it forward. I thank the chair and will yield the floor.